It's the talk with my good friends. No, it's the talk with my good friends. All of your friends tell you gather around now. They're gonna have a real good time. The talk with Micah, my good friends. It's the talk with Micah and friends. It's the talk with Micah and friends. Got all your friends and gather around now. They're gonna have a real time. It's the talk with Micah and friends. In a little tent, yeah, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change don't come. Oh, yes it will. So I go to my brother, oh Lord, and I said, brother, help me, please. But then he winds up knocking me back down, knocking me back down on my knees. There were times when I thought I wouldn't last for long, but now I know I'm able to carry on. It's been a long change gonna come. Can I say that again? It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come.
Hey YouTube, did you like what you just saw? Well, if you want to see more, first of all, comment below and subscribe.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind every day, I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We got an ocean gold. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
I was just a black boy brought up in the white world. I just wanna ask God if I'm in the right world. Is my life a test or is my life a curse? They put us in the ambulance, got us in a hearse. Cause another brother deceased, but it doesn't matter. Killed by the police, or we in a handcuff. I don't wanna take a knee, I just wanna stand up. Where's the new QEP? Call it Black Panthers. Just do the math, they subtract us like minus. Fuck COVID, KKK is the virus. We are not afraid, we will not stay quiet. They will always label a rebellion or riot. Kill a black man seems to be their assignment. White supremacists terrorize the environment. Guns and the canine, tasers and sirens. I just want to live, I don't want to live violent. We don't want violence.
My people don't want no trouble. We got an ocean gold. I just want to live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Talk with Micah and Friends. And for this particular platform or video or live video, conversation, it will be Micah's Emergency Town Hall on the platform of the Talk with Micah and Friends. And hopefully you'll be able to actually be able to listen to this if you happen to end up missing it and you can't really, watch it. You can listen to it on blogtalkradio.com/the Talk with Micah. As well as if you have an Apple podcast or the Apple Purple Podcast app on your phone, you can search the Talk with Micah and Friends, and the episode will be there momentarily. Okay, so 6.5 years ago, if you didn't know, I created the Talk with Micah and Friends. That was, essentially geared toward the LGBTQIA plus community, a place in a safe place and space where we can talk candidly. We can, I would interview activists and advocates all around our nation that's a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And then also have casual, candid, sometimes raw conversation as well. And when the Mike Brown situation happened a few years back, that's when I decided to start having town hall meetings. I haven't had one in quite some time, but now where we are in our nation, in our world, I felt like this was the best time for us to go ahead and start or have an emergency town hall. I've seen so many posts, so many live videos of people sharing everything that's happening in the world. And I felt like I know it's going to be more conversation that will happen after this. And for that, we're going to be grateful for it. But I wanted to make sure that we start the conversation, and I bring people on that I felt come from different, all different walks of life, be able to share their experiences, be able to commentate and talk about what's going on. And whether we agree to disagree, that we have healthy dialogue, healthy conversation. So, if you see at the bottom where it says visit streamyard.com/Facebook, if you can just go ahead and click on that. So if you are commenting on, and I see some people commenting now, if you are commenting, I'll bring it on so you can see exactly what I'm talking about really quickly. So, that's my mom. Oh, thanks, Mom. She says good evening and great opening. That was Mia, John Cooper. Hey, everyone. And so the comments are coming in. If you would like your comment to actually be placed here on the show, then you can go to, again, streamyard.com/Facebook and grant them access. And then every comment, every question, every concern will come across the screen. I'll be over here co-moderating as well as producing. And then also I'll have a Speak Your Mind, or It's Time to Speak Your Mind segment, where you will be able to come on. If you really say, okay, look, Micah, I really want to say this, and the other, just inbox me. And then when that time comes, I'll bring you in on the show live with us, okay? So make sure you're ready. Make sure you look kind of cute. And if you don't, it's okay, because I know we're in this COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with the introductions of our panel members. They will, give us their age, where they currently reside, their occupation and or their community involvement, and then we'll go into a brief synopsis of each situation that has happened. We'll discuss it and we'll move forward. So I want to go ahead and bring on the first person. And let me put this up here. Y'all bear with me, it's just me, okay? It's nobody else around here. Okay, so here is our guest panel introduction. We'll start with this first young man who is my co-moderator and best friend. Let me unmute him. Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Antonio Gray, Juris Doctorate. I am a combat veteran. I am 30 plus years of age. I recently graduated from law school. I work at a criminal defense firm here in the city of Montgomery, Alabama. I am a strong advocate for criminal justice reform and political reform and getting rid of the electoral college, those things. I have an affiliation with the NAACP. I'm a former past first vice president for the state of Alabama for the NAACP Youth and Collegiate Division, among many other accolades. Look forward to this discussion with you guys. I will be moderating, so I will try to keep it as neutral and as fair as possible. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you so very much. All right, let's go ahead and bring in on our next individual here. There you go. Oh, let me unmute you first. Okay, there you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ricardo Dawkins Graver. I am 41 and I reside in Los Angeles. I am a combat veteran as well. I work in a marketing firm here in Los Angeles, and I guess I'm trying to make my mark in this world of social justice for all, and that will probably be my new journey. That's
okay. Thank you so very much. And now let me bring on the next individual. Let me bring him on. Hold on, guys. All right, let me kick you guys out. There we go. There we go. Let me unmute you. Hold on. All right, there we go.
Oh gosh, hi everybody. My name is Jeremy. I go on Facebook by the name of Darnell. I am a high school dance teacher. I advocate for quality education across underprivileged and low socioeconomic schools, and including performing arts schools.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for being a part. All right, and let's go ahead and bring on this next individual here, and let me mute everybody else. So just bear with me here, because everybody deserves their spotlight, right? All right, go ahead, Czezre.
Hi, everybody. My name is Czezre. I'm from the state of New Jersey. I'm a former special education teacher. I'm now working in law enforcement. On top of that, I'm also a community activist and advocate as well. And I'm part of the NAACP chapter of Newark and Black Lives Matter.
Okay, thank you so very much. And let me bring everybody on now. There we go. I'm going to unmute. So if you have anything going on in the background, you might want to go ahead and power that off, people, because I don't like all that. Okay, so let's first start with the Amy versus Christian Cooper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video here, and give me one moment. Let me pull it up. I have a lot of stuff on my screen, but again, it's the Amy Cooper versus Christian Cooper. Lord, I don't know what's going on with my. This is the devil. So this is what we'll do while I'm waiting for this to do what it needs to do. Our moderator, can you go ahead and tell us about the Amy Cooper versus Christian Cooper situation, and then I'll play the video.
Okay, so guys, let's get to it. We all know why we're here for, right? So the Amy Cooper versus Christian Cooper situation was where a black guy was walking his dog. Was it in Central Park? It was in some park. Anyhow, he
wasn't walking his dog. He was bird watching.
Walking his dog. He was bird watching. The woman was walking her dog. He saw her. The dog was off his leash, which is against the park rules. Apparently, he asked the woman, who was a Caucasian woman, to put her dog on the leash. And there's a video that circulates in which he became hostile. She not only threatened, but she did call the police and make false accusations, saying that she was in distress and that a black man she was threatened for her life by a black man who simply asked her to put her dog on a leash. Now, Let's discuss it. And I want to start with you, Ricardo. Or do you want to go to the video, Mike? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ricardo, let's dive into it. What do you think about this situation?
You know, it's not the first time that has happened. We've had that incident happen several times in history, several times in recent history, several times today, maybe even several times yesterday. I don't think it was right, but I think that if it were me in that situation, I would have allowed the crazy woman to be crazy and not pay her no attention. I think I would have just walked away from her.
But did he not allow her to be crazy? Because she kind of went on a rant by herself. He was very calm and cool, calm and collected.
Well, yeah, I agree, but there was still a conversation or a back and forward between two people, and I kind of feel like I can cut off the conversation by just saying, you know, I don't think all your screws are there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and allow you to walk your dog and be that woman that you are. We already know you exist. I'm just not gonna give you my energy. So that was just been that easy. Call the cops, do what you need to do, but I'm just gonna walk away from the situation. I'm definitely not gonna sit there with my phone and record her while she goes crazy. I'm not gonna do that. Personally, I'm just not gonna be. I'm not that type of guy.
I think he's out there though. I think for me, he was out there because I think he's like an environmentalist or something like that, where he was watching birds for patterns or something like that, where that holds a special place in his heart. So therefore, laws are there for a reason, and you should have had the dog on a leash. And I think I would ask her to put her dog on a leash as well, because of that, because they attack the wildlife there and they're trying to preserve that. So it's not about letting her go on and be crazy, or it's just about me preserving the environment, the wildlife that lives in that park. It's not letting the dog attack that.
And okay. Now, Cameron, I want to go ahead and play the video now, okay? And then we'll tap back into it. So let me go ahead and share this screen here, and so y'all can see the video, and then we'll move forward. And guys, if you can, go ahead and mute your until we come back, okay? So let me share the screen. And let me go ahead and play it. Here we go.
Tonight, a white woman who wrongfully called the police on a black man in New York City's Central Park has been fired from her job at an investment company. Amy Cooper angrily confronted the man who was bird watching in the park and had asked her to put her dog on a leash as required. Here's CBS's Mola Lengi.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
The confrontation, caught on video, sparked a national outcry of racism, and today cost Amy Cooper her job. It all started when Christian Cooper, no relation, who's filming, asked her to leash her dog in a section of Central Park which requires it to protect the wildlife.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to me. Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Cooper did just that.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm sorry, I can't hear you read it. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Send the cops immediately.
Within 24 hours of the video, Amy Cooper apologized, returned the dog to a rescue center, and lost her job. Her employer, Franklin Templeton, stated in a tweet, "We do not tolerate racism of any kind at Franklin Templeton." Christian Cooper, an avid birdwatcher, spoke out for the first time today.
We need to start treating each other as us rather than as, other.
Well, Amy Cooper said she was scared because she was alone here in Central Park. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio called the video racist, quote, pure and simple, saying in a tweet that Miss Cooper called the police on Mr. Cooper, even though she was the one breaking the rules, according to the mayor, adding that type of hatred has no place in New York City. Nora?
Or anywhere. Mola, thank you.
All right, we're back. And I see your names. Yay. Okay, so let's go ahead and go with it. Let me unmute everybody that's muted. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so here we First of all, I want to get everybody's opinion. Do you think this situation was about race? Because a lot of the times what we hear is people on the opposite end of the conversation, and white people in general, they say, well, it's not about race. I'm just scared. So let's talk about that. Was this about race or not?
It was definitely about race. She made it about race.
Yeah. I think it was a combination of race and fear. I think that she was in fear. I mean, and I think race played a big role in this.
She was in fear of what? Being asked the question?
Well, the thing is that I'm thinking to myself when I'm walking my dog in the park, I'm a guy, so I'm not really worried about someone asking me to do something that I can't control the situation with. I don't want someone coming up to me who I don't know telling me what I should do with my dog in a park. And I have a dog.
Follow the rules, right? What do you mean you want about this thing coming up to you? Follow the rules.
I absolutely do, and I get exactly what you're saying, but I don't like people coming and telling me to, hey, can you leash your dog, or can you do this with your dog, or your dog is too close to my dog. I really don't like to be told what to do, especially like in a dog park or a dog situation. I'm just not that guy. If I'm breaking a rule, let me break the rule, and you not police me.
But I can't sit here and say that breaking the rule will create a rule that I wrote will make me be fearful because you're asking me to follow the rules.
Right. But he engaged her.
Czezre, you are law enforcement. Let me hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair at all. I think Amy, aka Karen in the park, was trying to absolutely engage in her white privilege and cause a disturbance within the park, especially when she broke the rules. And me, as somebody who's in law enforcement, that call would have been completely paid. Like I would have came to that scene, it would have been like, really? Is this what we? I'm just different. I'm just different because I just give it to people straight. I'm not cutting corners. There's no proper etiquette. I'm going to give you what you give me, and I just would have been like, Karen, go home.
So I want to say this. So think about, I don't know what really transpired. I don't know what because some people just don't like dogs, number one. Okay. Some people just don't like dogs. I understand I'm walking in the park and I don't like dogs. I see them, whatever. But that dog already looked like it was unruly altogether. Okay. So who's to say that dog was going crazy, this and the other, and that's what prompted him to say, you need to put your dog on a leash? Or what if he had a situation before in the park where he was mowed down by a dog, that was not on the leash? I mean, there could have been so many things. Yeah, we could have ignored it. He could have ignored it and walked away. But I feel like there may have been something underlining that just really made him say, okay, no. You need to put her dog on a leash, So,
I think it's simple.
What is important to discuss with this is what are the consequences of her making a false call saying that she felt threatened by a black man in a park. Well,
that's unlawful.
I think it's premeditated. Actually, it was very premeditated.
That should be unlawful.
And a lot of people echo the cries of Emmett Till, which they are exactly correct for that sentiment. And even as far as recent as yesterday, when the white man who pulled out a bow and arrow aiming it at protesters, once he got beat up, he told the police that they attacked him. 2 black African-American men attacked him, and that was false when he got beat up by a majority white crowd for something that he brought on himself.
Exactly.
So situations have consequences. What do you all think about the important, because while Ricardo says he would have walked away and would have not have given it attention, I think it's important to give these things attention because we have to create some kind of repercussions when these things happen.
Well, I just kind of feel like there was a choice to be made. He made a choice to engage her. He could have also made a choice to say, you know what, her not following the rules is not my business. That's where I'm at. I'm not going to engage a white woman in a park knowing what's going on. I'm 41, so I think I know a little better than that. I'm not going to engage this woman who I don't know from Adam and tell her, hey, listen, I think you need to put your dog on a leash. That's going to create already a monster because now Miss whatever you guys call her, Miss Karen, she's already fearful. She's in the park by herself. And yes, he's bird watching and all those things. But people don't know all those things when those things are happening and they're playing out. He could have made a conscious decision to say, you know what? I'm not even going to engage her. I'm just going to leave her alone and just mind my business. That's what I would have done. I'm not trying to police people.
I still highly doubt that she was fearful. There's nothing, no evidence that suggested that she was in fear for her at all. Now,
what if she were fearful? What if she were fearful for her life? What if he were? What if he was fearful for his life as well? I mean, we don't know that. She said she was, so we have to go for what she believed. I mean, some of these people shake when you walk past them on the street. They're shaking in their boots walking past black men sometimes.
Why? Because I'm black.
You're scared of people. Stay your ass in the house.
Well, that's not reality though. That's not how the world works.
To go out
if you get a dog, it's your responsibility. You know, your dog is your responsibility. If
Absolutely.
That dog had been very unruly and decided to, I know for me, run up on me, I'm definitely going to foot your dog in the face. I love animals, but I think people need to control their own animals. Like in Maleficent, when Angelina told her, control your animal or I will, you know, and then now you upset that I footed your animal in the face because you don't have it on a leash in the beginning. It's not about being fearful. She seemed quite comfortable, actually, and that's the place that she frequently often when she walks her dogs. So she definitely should have known that.
Let's pivot a little bit. What about the situations where that was a isolated incident, but more than likely we have more incidents where a white woman or male will approach a black person or a group of black people minding their own business to tell them the exact thing, and then they make the victim in that circumstance also. How do you avoid that?
I mean, there's no avoidance. I mean, you do the same thing they do. You just pick up your phone and dial 911. But instead of we have a choice or a decision whether you want to amp up the issue or dial down the issue. If I am engaged by a white man who I'm in fear of, or I have fear, I'm just gonna dial 911.
Why?
Excuse me?
911 was created for an emergency situation. Just because you have a tense altercation between someone, a verbal altercation with someone doesn't, for me, doesn't result in you should call the emergency hotline.
Well, it's been working for them. Why can't it work for us? I mean, I know it's
like we're trying to break, though, is that if it's not an emergency, you shouldn't be dialing 911.
Well, I just kind of feel like if I'm in a park and I'm being engaged by a white man and I'm by myself, I'm dialing 911 because I don't want to escalate this problem and then he'll have every excuse to shoot and kill me. I'm just going to dial 911. I would be the first person to dial. So when the officer shows up on the scene, they're asking, who's Ricardo Dawkins Graver? Hey, it's me. I made the report. So automatically they're going to be there for me. They're not going to be there for him.
Police
he dials first.
A policeman in America?
I mean, it happens. And if you follow follow the studies, when you are the person who's dialing 911, the officer's there to serve you, not the person that didn't call. So if I know the call,
supposed to be, but that's not always the case. We have other people that have shown that we could just be walking or jogging or driving, and it don't always end in a way that is where people live on the other side of that.
Okay, so
or Amy or not.
Let me ask this. So we know, her Franklin, I don't know what whatever the company that she was working for, they've since fired her. She's since apologized, this, that, and the other. And there was something interesting that Christian Cooper said. He was like, well, I don't really feel like she should have gotten, things stripped away the way that, where they were, this, that, and the other. So I'm inquisitive to know, like, what do you guys think about that? Because I feel like, you said you don't think that she should have gotten that stripped away or whatever. Well, if that was the case, number one, you should have never recorded. That's number one. You should have never recorded if you didn't, because you know how things go viral. Companies, if they deem that to be racism and this, that, and the other, then they'll strip you of whatever. But there were 3 points that someone made in regards to, and you tell me if you agree with them or not. 3 things Amy Cooper did to damage her reputation and her career. The first one was Amy leaned on her white privilege and demonstrated blatant racism.
Right.
That was the first one. Because it said Amy was the one that was breaking the rules. She's the one who didn't have the dog on the leash. The next one was Amy. Let's go to it. Amy Cooper conjured up memories, like Cameron said, of Emmett Till and the white eye donor. You know, that was another thing that people were talking about. Like, you know, she conjured those memories of just lying on this man. And luckily, he had a camera, you know, and of course, they didn't have cameras back then. And then the third one said that Amy Cooper weaponized police against Christian Cooper by feigning assault. So tell me what you guys, you agree with those three, or you have a difference of opinion in regards to them?
Well, I would say she did all of the above. It's important. Number one, I don't agree. Well, he can feel how he want to feel. If he's that loving and forgiving, by all means, have at it. That's you. But I do think she got exactly what was coming to her. You do an action and there's a consequence for every action. So she deserved exactly what she got. As far as when it comes to Emmett Till, we have to remember how many black men are in jail, have been lynched, have been killed because a white woman said that they raped them. Or because said that, hey, he winked at me, or oh, he disrespected me, when they get caught up in their own crap. I think we have to create situations such as this, make them the example, as somebody said on the comment. We have to make examples so they will realize that if I do this, then there's a chance that I can lose my entire livelihood for this.
I mean, we're so far along in this whole situation, as far as out of civil rights and slavery and all that, to be making examples. I think if he didn't feel like, him taking the picture or the video of the incident that took place should have rendered her losing her livelihood behind it, then why should I be upset? Why should I be mad? And why did he record it? Was he just recording it for attention? Was it for likes and views? I mean, what was he doing? What exactly was his? When he seen Amy in the park and he decided to walk up to her and engage her, what was he expecting to get out of that engagement? That's the question that we should be asking him. We don't know.
Why would we ask him what reaction he was expecting to get when he told her to put the dog on a leash? I think that's kind of trying to flip the narrative and almost in a way trying to blame him for why the situation went down. Amy broke the park law. The law is for the dog, for any dog, to be put on a leash. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm the kind of person, if I'm running in the park, I'm on my business. It is what it is. I don't care what's going on around me, because 9 times out of 10, I'm even listening to meditation music or I'm listening to gospel music, and ain't nobody gonna mess up my feng shui. But in any event, she broke the law, and the law was that your dog must always be put on the leash. He approached her at a 6 feet distance and asked her to put the dog on the leash. She chose, not him, but she chose to walk up to him, hit his camera phone. She lucky it wasn't me, because once you hit my iPhone 11, it's clips. But she chose to hit his phone and persisted to say in that video that I'm going to tell them that I feel threatened and that you were going to attack me.
That part is all wrong.
That's a comment that she made in the video.
Yeah.
She clearly got that from something, because she have seen time and time again, if you go all the way back to even to the Central Park 5 and we can move forward until now, where white people have used their privilege over and over again to make false accusations against African Americans, whether male or female, as part of their white privilege to get certain things done. Let's be quite honest. She felt the kind of way because a black man told a white woman what to do. Because 9 times out of 10, if it was a white man or a white woman telling her to do that, it would have been, okay, you got it. And it just would have been the end of it. So
yeah, maybe so. I agree.
I don't want this narrative to make it seem like how we're just now all of a sudden trying to question his motive behind things. Because at the end of the day, if the shoe was on the other foot and I was walking around with my Rottweiler or my Pit Bull or my German Shepherd and they didn't have a leash on, I would have been approached. And what we need to be doing is we need to be bringing that dog into the investigation room and ask him some questions and making sure he all right, because she almost damn near killed the dog.
I think the dog was riled up.
And
probably a happy dog.
And like Giselle, as well as Mia Monet Mugler said, you know, he didn't post the video. He sent it to his sister, and she was so outraged that she posted it.
My thing is, if he didn't expect that outcome, he wouldn't even, first of all, recorded her or sent that. I do not appreciate his response at all, because it minimalizes all the traction that we have in regards to a race in this country, in regards to false accusations that white people, specifically women, make every day. So I don't appreciate his response, and I think he should just kept quiet and let his sister post the video and let us do what we're gonna do. She got exactly what she deserved, if not even more, because I too have been in one of those Karen situations where my education was threatened because a white woman felt angry that I told her that what she couldn't do what she had to do. So she got exactly what she deserved.
I'm just not in the business of. I'm just not in the business of policing
and
people.
remind everyone. And I just want what you were saying, Ricardo.
I said I'm just not in the business of, like, if somebody's violating a park rule, I'm not in the business of, you know, Mr. Park Ranger, hey, you should have your frisbees in this area, or you shouldn't have your music on in this area. I'm just a little older. I've learned sometimes it's just best to mind your business. Like, if it wasn't something that was going to harm him directly, I'm not taking and making what she done proper or what she done was right because it was wrong. But I like to just be responsible for myself. And if I were in that situation, I would have never engaged her. I would have allowed her to walk her dog unleashed. I would have been minding my business, finding my birds, and all the things I need to do in that park. I'm not in the park to pay park ranger. That's
But if
just what I'm not going to do.
If I'm an avid bird watcher and I know that these dogs attack the wildlife and birds being wildlife, I'm going to ask you to do that because this is something that I like to partake in. This rule is here in this specific place of the park for a reason. That's not about you being a part of it. You are in fact minding your business because you want to make sure the birds stay alive. And you want to make sure that because not only is she not having her dog on a leash, but that's for everybody else that's not having their dog on a leash. You know, it don't just stop at her, but she was right there in that moment. I would like to keep the birds alive because I like to watch birds, and I ask that you put your dog on the leash because the law is here for that. That's not about being in her business or moving forward or just not, you know. I
think her reaction warranted her to be fired, as far as using her white, you know, her whiteness and her white
she should be fired and forbade to call
called in. But I also believe that the young man should have never approached her. He should have never had nothing to do with her in that park. I'm not here to police you, Miss Honey.
Okay,
do what you need to do with your dog.
We're gonna wrap this one up and move on to the next one, but there are 2 points I want to point out. One, I think what we're doing right now, we're talking all around the situation, focusing on the issue that she presented, which is you placed another Black man's life in danger because you take it for granted the way that we're treated by law enforcement. That's the first. The second is, where's the outrage about her? The whole country went in this outrage when Jesse made this false report that no one was harmed by whatsoever. Yet there's not a peep, not an instant, not a word about this woman who literally did the same thing. Where's that outrage?
I'm just saying the Central Park situation would have never taken place if he had never engaged her to begin with.
Or she had a dog on the leash.
Or if he would have never recorded her, because he feels sorry for the woman.
And that's unfortunate for him. That's so unfortunate for him. And he's going to live a very hard life because of that.
Yeah.
Ricardo, I think what you're not recognizing is this is exactly the issue, because every time something happens to us that is to our detriment, we always go back to, well, he shouldn't have did this in the first place. She should not have did that. But the point is, we are here. We're in the moment now. Like you said, people make their choices. But now that we've made the choice, which is a liberty that everybody has, right?
Yes.
We have to focus on the wrong in that moment. You can't go back and make the victim the defendant.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know the state of mind this Black man was in or the white woman was in. I just kind of feel like if he had never, ever engaged her, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Or if she had a dog on a leash, we wouldn't be talking about it.
I mean, as a Black man, I'm not going to just walk up to a single white woman and try to engage and try to correct her. I'm just not doing it.
But it's sad that we can't do that. You know what I'm saying? We can't.
That's the part.
And say, so that's the sad part for me. Like, I can't walk up to you and say, you know what, you need to dog on a leash, or you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's not about policing, but again, it goes back to what I said earlier about experience. You don't know what my experience is with animals. You know, so yes. So am I not supposed to walk outside? Am I not supposed to walk in the park and enjoy whatever because I've had a traumatic experience with dogs? That's why you have a leash. Put the dog on a leash and we wouldn't have the problem. Let's move on to the next. The next one, we're going to talk about Ahmad. So give me one moment. Let me go ahead and play the situation here.
About Ahmaud, correct? Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Let me get you guys off. I'm going to mute you guys first, just for a second. And then I'm going to bring the video on, and here we go.
Family of a Georgia man is asking for justice more than 2 months after he was shot and killed. No one has been arrested or charged in the death of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery. Police say he was chased by 2 men who suspected him of a crime. Arbery's family says all he was doing was jogging. Omar Villafranca talked to his mother and the family's lawyer. Interviews you will see only on CBS this morning.
Ahmaud is no longer with us. And he's not with us because 2 men followed him while he was jogging and killed him.
Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed in Brunswick, Georgia. He spoke to his mother, Wanda Jones. What do you think should have already happened?
An arrest should have been made already.
According to neighbors, there had been break-ins in the area. Arbery was allegedly spotted at a home that was under construction before he began to run. 911 calls came in moments later.
Is someone breaking into it right now?
No, it's all open. It's under construction. And he's running right there. There he goes right there.
Okay, what is he doing?
He's running down the street.
According to a police report, Gregory McMichael told police he saw Arbery run by and recognized him from the break-ins. According to the report, McMichael and his 34-year-old son Travis grabbed a shotgun and a pistol and got into their truck to go after Arbery. Once they caught up to him, Gregory McMichael told investigators Arbery violently attacked Travis and the two fought over the shotgun before Travis shot twice and killed him. The prosecutor who previously had the case says Travis acted out of self-defense. The pursuers acted within the scope of Georgia's citizens arrest statute.
It essentially deputizes all citizens to go out and perform police functions. They did not do that properly.
Lee Merritt, an attorney for Arbery's family, says he believes there have not been any indictments because Gregory McMichael is a former investigator for the Brunswick District Attorney's Office. That's why the case was transferred to the Ware County District Attorney.
There's more than enough evidence for a case for murder.
What do you think those men should have done?
They should have waited until the authorities arrived. They had already made a call to 911.
People defending the McMichaels point to Arbery's previous brushes with the law. He had a shoplifting conviction. His mother said this has nothing to do with what happened. Her son is the victim. Gregory McMichael told us since this case is still being investigated, he has no comment. Tony?
A lot of questions in that story. Omar, thank you very much.
All right, we are back, and I don't know where Mr. Gray is, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Ahmaud Arbery situation. How do we feel? And we know that there have been developments since then that have happened in regards to getting justice for his murder. So Czezre, come on, let's talk about it.
You already know. I've had so many conversations about this when it comes to unarmed Black and brown people are just being lynched and murdered in the hands of white people, racists, every single day. It just becomes annoying. It's very frustrating. And it seems like something never seems to get done unless we raise hell or we make something go viral instead of people just doing their damn job. Like, it's not that hard. You swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and to protect and serve the citizens of the city in which you are policing. It's not that difficult. I don't care what it is. A citizen's arrest is not you holding a gun to somebody's face until the police arrive or taking matters into your own hand. That's not what a citizen's arrest is. Those two individuals, I'm not going to say their names because they don't deserve for me to say their name, but those two white people deserve to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That is blatant murder. That is a blatant lynch. And there's nothing they can tell me otherwise, even somebody in law enforcement, to tell me that they should not be found guilty. Nothing. Sorry.
I agree. Honestly, I think I don't mind or necessarily disagree with citizens' arrest, but it wasn't their property that he was roaming around. So to jump in and grab guns and hound him down is a little bit aggressive. You called 911, you did your part, and that let that be that. But they decided to continue until he was dead, and then cover it up for 2 months. So it's at this point, it's everybody should be prosecuted.
Yes,
it was wrong. I mean, it was wrong.
Yeah,
it was wrong. The first thing I thought about when I saw that story was this his neighborhood? It really wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was his neighborhood or not, because things start to come out. And although it wasn't his neighborhood, it is his country. So he should be able to be allowed to run. If he was an avid runner, that was put out in the beginning, and that changed. Whatever changed, he had every right to be there. Now, what he was doing there did not warrant him to be killed. That's the part that, that kind of plays with my brain. Now, if he was there being mischievous and he was, essentially, being there just looking through people's stuff or whatever, I mean, that's him. But to kill him over that, now that's where, I don't think the crime fits the punishment. I think that kind of was a little lynching to me, in my opinion.
Well, let me make the point. Number one, I don't think there was a crime that was committed. It was a house under construction without a frame.
It's private property.
That's considered trespassing.
It's still trespassing. It doesn't matter if the house had a foundation. It doesn't matter if there's no house on there, but somebody owns it. It's still trespassing.
Okay.
And maybe he didn't know that.
It doesn't matter if he knew it or not. It wasn't his.
Yeah, it wasn't his.
But I think that warranted his life to be taken.
His life should have never been taken.
They should have never come on the scene with guns anyway.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
That's why there's law enforcement. Call 911, John, whoever. You know what I'm saying? Call it. Hey, there's been some robberies that have happened. This, that, and the other. I'm seeing a guy going in and out of this place. That whatever, and call and let them handle it. You don't have to take the law into your own hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's jogging. So okay, he's jogging along the way. Let's just say this happened. He's jogging along the way. Oh, let me go. Let me see how this structure. Okay, come out. They see him. Call law enforcement. Do not come on the scene with your gun and want to play police officer.
Well, that's what they do in their neighborhoods, though. That's how you police your neighborhood. If you understand the structure of a predominantly white neighborhood, they look after each other. They make sure their neighbors are taken care of. If I'm out of town for 2 weeks, they get your mail for you. If somebody's going through your stuff, and as Black men, we have to understand that when we're potentially looking through people's stuff in a permission to carry state, we have to be careful. We just can't. You can't be on private property. Not saying that it warrants his death, because it didn't. But we have to understand that in certain neighborhoods, they don't run their neighborhoods like ours. I mean, there are gunslinging whites in their neighborhoods, and they're willing to protect their neighbors and everything in their neighborhoods. We just haven't signed on to that agenda yet, and we can't blame them from doing that.
Bullshit.
We have to blame ourselves.
Excuse my friend.
What we can definitely blame them for is murdering someone for taking a job in our neighborhood. I think the problem that I have with this situation, how it was handled legally. As I dug into the research in it and about the issue, the DA literally did try to bury this case and hide it, and then tried to hope and pray that it would literally just go away. Right. And if there had never been a video, as in most instances, this case would have gone away. But when we talk about policing, that's what happened to Trayvon Martin. George Zimmerman called himself policing. Number one, you are not the police. Number two, you are not a dictator unless you literally write the contracts and the leases and every single body who lives in every single house. You should not be inquiring about who lives where. It's just like a situation I spoke about when I lived in this little high-end condo downtown in Montgomery. I went to the pool maybe 5 times out of 3 years. Each time the police was called because they got a call saying that somebody's at the pool who looks like they don't live here. But when you come and approach me, I don't have to tell you where I live if you're not going to tell me where you live. Better yet, I don't have to do it at all. But these situations could have all gone left because once again, we have Karens and Carls trying to interfere in business that they should probably stay out of. And it didn't result in the loss of my life, but we see it so much and it just continues. I think we passed the barrier of this is how it is. This is their neighborhood and how they conduct themselves. That's an excuse a lot of time for the way that we operate in this country because we always say, well, this is how it's always been. But does that make it right? And when does the change start?
Well, no, it doesn't make it right, but it makes it right for their neighborhood. I mean, I don't know. I would want someone to come in my neighborhood telling me how to run my neighborhood. And this is how we have our neighborhood watch running down. I don't know. All I know is that the young man was in the wrong place at the wrong time and his life was taken. And that's not fair to him nor his family. Now, whatever happened and why they decided not to release these videos 2 months later, that's a great question to ask. And I'm sure they're going to get down to the bottom of it. They should have never murdered him. I don't think that.
What makes you so sure for them to get to the bottom of it? If it took 2 months for them to even take the case up.
I said I was hoping that they get down to. I'm hoping they get to the bottom of it. That's what my hope is.
Well,
that this family gets justice for their son.
Well, I'm not going to place any blame on Ahmaud Arbery. He was not at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was at the right place at the right time, doing what he does every single day, and that's run in that neighborhood. Period. Point blank. He wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was in the right place at the right time. That's number one. Number two, we have to stop sending out this narrative to where we're telling ourselves that Black people that we have to be careful.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. When are we going to say to ourselves, we're going to stop pushing that narrative? I don't have to be careful no damn where when I'm walking in a particular neighborhood because you want me to make that white body comfortable.
Exactly.
I'm not. If you have a fear of my skin because you think it's a sin or whatever the media perpetuated about Black skin over these decades, that is your problem. And I tell people this all the time, even in law, I've been stopped by cops too, even while I'm off duty. I'm not going to do anything to make you feel comfortable as a law enforcement officer. And I tell people that when they're speaking to me, you don't have to make me feel comfortable because I'm not threatened by you. All I'm asking you for is to treat me with respect. Bottom line. So this narrative of us telling Black people to be careful when we're going through certain white neighborhoods is BS to me. Because at the end of the day, I grew up in Franklin. I grew up in Newark, but I went to middle school and high school in Franklin, New Jersey, in Somerset County, where there's a large Black population, there's a large white population, Indian population, so forth and so forth. So the same things that you're saying that white people do, trust me, even in urban neighborhoods, Black people do the same thing. Black people watch for each other's property. Black people fix up each other. It's just not a white thing. It's people in general who cares about their tax dollars and where it is going. So I don't want us to misconstrue that white people are the only places that neighborhood, their areas a certain way compared to Black people, because Black people do the same thing. It's just this notion that it's just a white thing. And
I never grew up in a Black neighborhood like that. So that's just my perspective. I've never grown up in like a Black neighborhood where somebody will pull a gun out on somebody for walking inside of my mom's house. That never happened for us, unfortunately.
Unfortunate, but again, now I'm going to use what you said about the Karen situation, to where you said that Christian should have minded his business.
Yes.
So now we're going to go to the Ahmaud Arbery situation. Those mother juggers should have then basically mind their business then. It wasn't their property. He wasn't breaking into their stuff. He wasn't breaking into none of their family member stuff. So why the hell didn't they mind their business?
Well, then I can kick that same question back to you, because you said it was his business in the Central Park. It was their business. So we can go back and forward.
But
whose business is what?
They did their job when they called 911. Point blank, period.
Who did that?
When the Carmichaels called 911, they did their job. That was
okay,
it.
But then
the
you're
job was done.
talking about a different city with a whole different situation. We have a neighborhood watch. We have a whole different scenario. We're not talking about a dog walker.
Every neighborhood has a neighborhood watch. Everybody has a neighborhood watch, but there is a limit to this neighborhood watch. There is a limit to how far you can go when it comes to a citizen's arrest. I looked up the whole neighborhood watch and the citizen's arrest thing in Georgia. It does not say in any way, shape, form, or fashion to where it said it's okay for a citizen to get a gun and pull it out on another citizen during that citizen's arrest. It does not state that.
Is it an open carry state? Is it Georgia an open carry state?
It still does not give you a right, period, under the law, whether it's
I agree.
Whether it's their citizen's arrest law or federal law. It does not say because you witnessed something and under the citizen's arrest law, you are allowed to pull out a gun and perform police. It does not give you that scope to perform a police duty. There is limits around this country, federally and each state by state, that it gives you certain limited powers when it comes to citizens arrest. And one of those is not pulling out no gun or going back home to get a gun and holding somebody up at gunpoint or killing somebody. It does not give you that right. So at the end of the day, that is murder. They murdered.
Of course, it's murder. I never said it wasn't murder.
But like, contrary to popular opinion, also, you cannot use deadly force to protect property. That is a myth. You cannot kill somebody because they're on your property.
That was a scuffle. That he was shot in the stomach during the scuffle with the young man on the ground. So it wasn't as if he was not. I'm not trying to take up for shooters.
Couple with me with a gun. Let's fight one-on-one if that's what we want to do. But you're not going to bring a gun to you know what I'm saying, to you trying to fight.
What I'm saying, I mean, I believe that he was killed. He was killed in the process of a fight. I don't think that they, pointed, aimed, clicked, and it was that it. It wasn't like that.
See, this is where we're criminalizing the victim a bit again, because number one, he was not killed in the middle of a fight.
What was he?
In the middle of self-defense.
He was fighting.
Ahmaud Arbery was defending himself from random white men
pulling up on
a truck with guns.
Yeah,
there was no fight. He was defending himself. So what we have to do is when we choose our words, we have to be careful.
Talk about it.
Because then we get into these sticky situations where we do criminalize the person who was the victim. And that's like on a media outlet, they saying, oh, now mind you, the Carmichaels are claiming self-defense. And I'm like, no, you were the aggressor. Yeah. And you went after this man with weapons. What do you think anybody in our situation would think if I see a white truck with one in the back of the truck with the gun and the other one driving with a shotgun hanging out the window, and then they get out to approach me?
Right.
Like
but then you have to ask yourself at the same time, and I said earlier when you posted the whole video part of it, the murder part was wrong. It was completely wrong. It was outrageous. The guy should have never lost his life, no matter if he was on private property or on anyone's property. But what's going to happen is we're going to call for social justice, and we're going to overcharge these white men. Not to say that we're going to do white versus black. We're going to overcharge them, and then they're going to get off. So we have to be able to. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to separate our emotions from the situation and say, you know what? Listen, the young man lost his life. We understand that part. Now, how much of his life did he lose? All, but what's chargeable? He can never get we can never go first degree. We can't even go second degree. But we're going to do that, and they're going to get off.
Also, that's not how charging works also, because what you have to understand is the intentional acts behind what these DA officers and these white district attorneys do. Number one, in Alabama and in most states, you have what we call lesser included. So I can charge you with first degree murder and then ask also for every lesser included with that charge. That means, although I'm charging you with first degree murder, when the judge give the orders to the jury, he's going to say there are lesser included, meaning you can also consider manslaughter, you consider second-degree murder, you consider reckless murder. These are things that you can consider. So when they say, well, overcharging, no, because in most cases, you can really do a blanket umbrella charge.
Well, that's how George got off.
It covers everything.
That's
so
how George Zimmerman got off.
Have these district attorneys and these judges who are intentionally overcharging and not asking for lesser included. Then
no,
you have
what we're having is social justice. We're having families who are pinned to social media, and they're hiring these lawyers, and they're making these lawyers, I'm going to pay you $100,000, but I want first degree. We can't ask that. We can't ask for first degree. That's why George Zimmerman got off.
But you also just made an incorrect statement. I
do know law. My husband is a practicing attorney, and he's civil rights as well. So he knows the facts. When you go in, you have to look at the degree of what happened. You have to understand what took place that day. Whether it was self-defense.
Made an incorrect statement. A family can't hire an attorney to charge. That's the district attorney's job.
No, I'm talking about
and bring up charges as a prosecutor.
Maybe I misspoke. Okay, maybe I misspoke on that part. I did misspeak on that part. But what I'm saying is, there's so much social justice that these district attorneys are put into places where they're having to chime up all these charges and dial them up just to please us. That's what they're trying to do. And then what happens when they go to trial? They can't convict on what they want everybody else to, everybody else wanted this conviction, but now they can't convict. That's what happened to George Zimmerman. He was overcharged. That's why he walked away. That's what happened to every black man who was lynched in the last 5 or 10 years. They were overcharged.
George Zimmerman wasn't overcharged.
Juries play a major part in that too, because you have these people on the jury who just don't see it our way, and this is where I come.
Exactly.
The benefit of the doubt comes into play. When those jury members get up there and they select these all-white juries to connect to this white man, what do you expect to happen? It's the same thing that has happened since history began the judicial system. You have a man who clearly commits murder, obviously, and then he's acquitted by an all-white jury.
And then you ask the juries, you poll them and say, if they would have charged him with second degree, we probably could have got conviction. But we couldn't charge him. We just couldn't hold first degree on him. I mean, you as an attorney, you should know that. Some charges won't stick.
But just because you charge somebody with first degree, I've sat in court. Just because you charge somebody with first degree does not mean you can't also get convictions from sub charges. I've seen it happen countless of times to where the initial charge was this, but the judge, like he said, walked back in along with the jury, walked back in and said, okay, now go back and deliberate and let's look at this. If you couldn't get first degree, y'all go back in the room and deliberate for however long you can and tell me, since it wasn't first degree, well, can you pull out and say conviction for second degree? No, okay, well, can you come back and it happens like this every single time. There's not one of these cases to where just because you did first degree that a person's not getting convicted. That's you like he said, there are juries who they don't look like us when we're the victims in the situation, and our families are looking for justice. Our faces are not on these panels as a majority. So
if this young man's case goes to court and they pull up first degree, I can assure you those 3 white men are going to walk.
They're not going to
walk, and we're going to all be pissed. That's what's going to happen because they're going to overcharge them.
They're not going to walk because they're going to walk because of biased people who are making these decisions. That's why I disagree with you. And I don't know what your husband does. I know at my firm, we're a criminal defense firm and one of the top in the city. We know how to fight cases. It's just that you have attorneys and district attorneys who are simply lazy. Like he said,
pro bonos here in Los Angeles for criminal court.
There are lesser included of every charge. If the district attorney does not act lesser included, that's how they get off, because they're saying we're looking for first degree murder only. And if they don't ask the judge to give a jury charge that says consider these lesser charges also, they get off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying okay, but I'm just saying what I'm saying is that If we go in with the motions and charge these 3 white men on first degree, I can assure you they will not spend 1 day in jail. 1 day, not one.
Why don't you think it's first degree murder?
Because I feel like it's overcharged. I feel like they didn't wake up that morning. I don't feel like they woke up that morning saying, you know what, let me go find a young black man. I'm going to put on this shirt. I'm going to put on this hat. I'm going to put this many bullets in my gun. And I'm going to go hunt me a black man down and kill him. I don't care about the life of this young guy, but I do want a conviction. Give me second degree and give him 20. I want something, but I don't want him to walk.
Premeditation don't mean I woke up with the intention to kill you this morning. Okay. Your mindset can change in an instant, and we say that in court all the time. The moment they decide to grab those guns and chase that man down the street,
you better check. Yes, that became intentional.
Okay, well, I guess we'll all see how this all plays out.
Yeah, we will. Thank you, Ricardo, for wrapping that up. That was so great. And there are many comments. You guys are commenting, and I enjoy it. I keep bringing it onto the screen, and I enjoy this conversation. So let's move on to Breonna Taylor. Hold for me 1 second. Let me share the screen. And thank you guys for being amazing. Let's see. What is it? Okay, here we go.
The Kentucky family is demanding answers today in the death of a frontline healthcare worker who was killed during a police raid 2 months ago today. Breonna Taylor's family is suing 3 Louisville police officers after the 26-year-old woman was shot and killed in her apartment. Now, officials say this incident back in March was tied to a drug investigation where police were searching for someone else. As our national correspondent Eureka Duncan reports, Taylor's mother claims gross negligence took her daughter's life.
Breonna loved life, and she loved to help people, and she loved her family. She didn't deserve what they did to her.
Tamika Palmer is Breonna Taylor's mother. The 26-year-old was an EMT working in emergency rooms at 2 hospitals and helping respond to the coronavirus outbreak.
I was more concerned with her washing her hands than dying at home.
But just after midnight on March 13th, police shot Taylor at least 8 times, killing her in the apartment she shared with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker.
Officers knocked on the door several times and announced their presence as police who were there with a search warrant. The officers forced entry into the exterior door and were immediately met by gunfire.
Louisville Metro Police say the officers were part of a narcotics investigation and opened fire after Walker shot first. They're now on administrative reassignment pending the results of an internal investigation. The lawsuit against the officers claims the suspect they were searching for was already in custody. Taylor's family alleges the officers wearing plain clothes did not identify themselves and that Walker, a registered gun owner, was shooting at men he believed were breaking in. Walker is now charged with first-degree assault and attempted murder of a police officer.
They thought they were being burglarized. Does the Second Amendment not apply to African Americans?
Attorney Ben Crump joined Breonna Taylor's case this week. He is also representing the family of Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot dead in February while on a run in his Georgia neighborhood.
This was a completely unnecessary and justifiable killing of an innocent woman.
For CBS This Morning, Eureka Duncan.
And your heart goes out to that family. They're
all right, so we are back. Let me unmute. Do. Okay, everybody's unmuted. So let's talk about it.
I don't know. I don't know the specifics of Breonna's case. However, that case is very reminiscent of the Sheen here at Boston. Somebody I can't think of that came up here in Dallas, where police officers are entering in knowingly, even if they say they don't know, the wrong apartment and killing someone. I like to think that they have intelligence enough to know where a person lives and hides and frequent daily. So for me, them entering in on another person's apartment and killing them because they're being shot at when they're in unmarked clothing, did not identify themselves, I think it's just complete BS, and everybody in that case should be charged except for the guy shooting. Much like the guy in Dallas case, the police officer was charged and was convicted. So I think the same result will happen in Breonna's case.
Okay.
Murder. Wrong. That's it. I just think it was completely wrong. It was murder. It was wrong. You know.
Right.
You could have knocked at the door. You could have called her. You know, it was just wrong. It was just.
And then we recently had a case in Alabama where a young man was shot in the mall because what do you call them? Undressed or
plainclothes.
A plainclothes officer who was acting as security, moonlighting as security, ran to an instant where there was a fight in the mall. The young man had his gun. Mind you, Alabama is an open carry state also. The young man had his gun trying to protect or break up the fight also. The security guard was filmed running towards him, and he just saw him with the gun, and he automatically shot this dude and killed him. So it's like we don't get these benefits that you claim are our constitutional rights. And that in lies the problem.
It was wrong.
Yeah.
The young lady should have never lost her life.
Absolutely not. They shouldn't have been in her apartment. Just like the officer in Dallas shouldn't have been in their apartment. It's too much intelligence, especially when y'all doing all these coups and these setups where you know too much. You have all these informants and things like that. You shouldn't have been in her apartment. Period. Yeah. You shouldn't get it mixed up. None of that. It's just unqualified, woefully unqualified people who are taking up this job just because it's a shortage. And it's
okay. So let me make sure I'm not missing nothing. So they didn't even announce themselves?
Allegedly.
But it said on the thing that they did not announce who they were. The guy, once they kicked the door down or knocked or whatever they did, he started shooting because they felt like they were being burglarized. I know for a fact a white man killed teens. When they broke into his house, he killed them. And everybody was like, that's exactly what they get. You shouldn't have broke into our house. It don't just apply to regular citizens. It applies to also a police officer who do not announce themselves when they come into a dwelling, specifically mines.
I would have probably been shooting back at the officers too. I mean, if I'm being woken out of my sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't even have time to think. Only thing you're hearing is somebody breaking your door down, and the first thing you have is your weapon.
Exactly.
You have every right to protect your house. So whether they said they were police or they identified themselves, when you got smoke and you got banging and booming, I mean, your brain can't process that. I mean, they can't turn us into like zombies. Like we can't think. Any normal person would have been scared out of they would have been scared out of their minds. What's going on? The first thing I'm gonna have is my weapon, and I'm gonna start shooting wherever the danger's at.
Exactly. Right. I'm not going to be shooting just shooting randomly either. I think he should go to the target range and actually kill somebody. But
like you said, they have too much intelligence around to make mistakes like that. Now, in the 90s, I understand. But
I don't understand in the 90s either.
I don't understand in the decade.
In 2020, I just, you can bug people. You can slip small mics under certain, there's so many different, technology has changed so much that these mistakes should not happen ever.
So definitely justice do need to be served to her and her family. And her boyfriend, I believe, that one that was shooting should definitely get off and be compensated for his everything he's going through.
Oh God, what's that? And for the record, I don't want to shoot police officers. Yeah. For the record, I don't want to kill cops. I don't want to kill cops.
Okay. And so we'll move forward because there's some questions I want to ask in regards to law enforcement and how should they move going forward. But I want to make sure that we cover the George Floyd video and conversation first, and then we'll deep dive into that. And if you have questions, if you want to come on, you need to inbox me on Facebook, Micah Pierce, MICAHPIERCE. Inbox me and let me know, and then I can bring you on. So let's go ahead. Darnell, are you working now?
Yeah, I'm working. I had to put down Do Not Disturb. All my messages started to come in.
Okay, yes. Okay, Kendall, let me tell you what Kendall said. Kendall says, silence your phones, please. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about George Floyd. What you said, Cameron? Now I can't hear you, Cameron.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Cameron. Czezre, can I hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so let me play the video with, this one is from The Breakfast Club with Benjamin Crump and DJ Envy. So let me play this. Hold for me, please. All right. Oops, wrong one. Here we go.
Anything
Hold on.
about
Let me start it over. Okay, there we go. And there we go.
What started the situation? What made the police come? Like, what call was that? Because at first we heard it was scamming. At first they said he was on top of his car. What was that first initial call for?
You know, the first initial call for was allegedly forgery. And as we find out more, forgery, that's talking about a $10 bill may have been fake. So there's no evidence that he ever did anything wrong because they never proved anything about the $10 bill was fake, or if it was fake, that he would have knew about it. How many people would know if they had got money and it wasn't real? How many of us are checking money when we get change from a store? So it's just unbelievable that he was killed because he was accused of a non-violent crime, but yet the police came and used excessive lethal force to kill him, which is a lot envy like Eric Gardner. When you think about it, selling Lucy cigarettes, which is a non-violent crime, but then the NYPD come and they use excessive lethal force where that brother ends up dead. And now here we are in 2020 and he ends up dead. And I think this is far worse in many regards because the officer's on his knee and the public is out there pleading with the police. Just take your knee off his neck, Andy.
It's such a sad situation. You know, watching that video, and me and my wife watched it together, and I watched it with my 16-year-old son, and we just couldn't understand it. And just to look at that while people were telling him he was killing them. Like it's like his ego got to him, and he just gonna sit there like, no, I'm gonna keep my knee on his neck. And I just don't I can't get it. And I heard George screaming, you know, I can't breathe. He was screaming for his mother. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, his mother is deceased, and it's so sad that week was her 2-year anniversary of her death. And so it was already emotional. And so he had his brothers and sisters and his children. He has 2 children, 2 daughters, one 6 years old, one 22 years old, and he has 6 brothers and sisters who loved and adored him. And it's just been heartbreaking for them. I mean, they can't even accept it as real because they said George was like a gentle giant. He was a all-star athlete. He played basketball in high school. They went to the state championship. He played for University of South Florida. He was just somebody who they said you could not love George. Everybody loved him. He would always keep everybody laughing. He was like so engaging. And the people in Minneapolis, everybody says that about this guy. And for them to kill him in this manner, when there is no scintilla of evidence that demonstrates that he posed a threat to these police officers. I'm demanding, Envy, for them to release the body cam video. Be transparent. We just saw the video. How much worse can it be? Release the video. Let us know what you were saying when you had your knee down there. And you notice, Envy, he has his hand in his pocket. I was told they do that to apply more pressure when you push down on the thigh. And so I just think it was deliberate what these officers were doing because for 9 minutes, you can't do something coincidentally for 9 minutes. And the fact that at some point when time passes and people are telling you to de-escalate and he's saying, I can't breathe, you then have intentionally intended to cause harm and pain to him. And so in the law, when you intentionally do something to cause harm or bodily harm, you may not have meant to kill him. But if he ends up dying, then your actions was a proximate cause of his death, and you can absolutely be charged for murder. And when you look at this video, if it was you or I or anybody else, no question, it would be murder. Why are they treating the police like they're above the law? They need to arrest them now and charge them with murder.
All right. So let me stop sharing here and let's talk about it. Let me unmute everybody. And Cameron, since you're the co-moderator, if you want to go ahead and start the conversation up or the question up, go ahead.
Yes, I want to pivot to Czezre since he's our law enforcement on the panel. What do you think how that situation was handled, and more specifically, that technique that was used? Is that common practice? Is that what you're taught to use in those kind of situations?
First of all, what that officer did was absolutely 110% wrong. There is no way around it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. He was absolutely wrong. Any officer that you speak with that I know will state that that is wrong, and I'm just going to leave it at that. The practice in, as far as I'm saying, the technique in which he displayed, besides him just sitting there for the amount of time that he did, is a technique that is practiced. But that technique is practiced almost like in an armbar situation to actually get control of the situation, to get control of the person until you put that person in handcuffs. You're not taught that once that person's in handcuffs, you continuously put your knee on their neck. That's not taught at all. So not even in Minneapolis law enforcement guidelines, if you look that up, is that even taught to where after you have a citizen under control that you just sit there with your knee on their neck, period. Go ahead.
Is there a technique that you can put your knee on someone's cervical spine that you're taught in the police academy anyway?
I wouldn't use those exact words, but there is, again, a technique to where you can place your knee on somebody's back, or sometimes their neck in a sense, and you have them in an arm bar hold in a particular manner until you're able to get their hands around their back and put them in handcuffs.
So you're telling me that there is a technique, there is a what is that? A protocol that you can put your weight on someone's cervical spine to apprehend the person. Is that what you're telling me?
There's a technique, yeah.
Wow, I think that is probably the outrage, because it seems like sometimes law enforcement use techniques that really kind of seem almost inhumane or inconsiderate.
Well, you got to think a lot of the practices and techniques that law enforcement use, they get it from the military. That's why law enforcement agencies are called paramilitary operations, because they mirror themselves exactly like the military. Everything law enforcement does, they do it based off of the military. So
now you've gone into the conversation that I want to talk about, which I want everybody's opinion on, because law enforcement was originally designed to be peace officers.
Slave catchers.
Well,
slave catchers.
We want
to go back to maybe slave catchers.
We know well, and actually, what I was telling my BFF yesterday was that the sheriff's office, when they used those 5-point star badges, those were the original slave patrol badges that are still being used today. But moving further in conversation, I feel like law enforcement has forgotten that they are supposed to be peace officers, and there is a military. And I think because the military, because the police have militarized themselves so much, now we have a lot of trigger-happy people who don't know how to really react in a real combat situation. And then there's distinguishing factors between law enforcement and military. If we were in war and we kill somebody who we were not supposed to kill, there's no such thing as you're not going to get your ass handed to you, and you're not going to go to the brig, and you're not going to do time and get kicked out of the military. There's just no such thing, no matter how hostile that enemy is. There are consequences if we make these mistakes in the military. Why aren't there these same consequences for law enforcement?
Well, first of all, I can't go too in depth because I'm not going to read word from word. But I want everybody, when they have the chance, to pull up the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights. When you read the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, that's going to tell you everything you need to know. Secondly, when we also have to understand that when that guy down on Pennsylvania Avenue got into the White House, and he hired Jefferson Sessions as the Attorney General before Barr got put into place. That a lot of the guidelines that was put into place under the Obama administration has been stripped. A lot of things I could just say the consent decree has been practically wiped out in a lot of places, or I should say hasn't been really hasn't really been enforced like it was intended to when Obama was in office. Now that we have the other guy in office now.
Exactly.
I
think that's what you
said. So
what exactly you said? The consent decree?
Yeah.
What is that? Can you explain that?
So that was basically something that was put into place, almost like an oversight of the police department by the federal government, to where they went police department by police department, mainly you might as well say urban areas in a sense, and they basically investigated police brutality, citizen complaints against police officers, and how those type of things were handled. Once the investigation was finalized, if let's just say the Department of Justice found out that Baltimore Police Department has shown over the history excessive force, police brutality, not policing their police department in such and such manner, they have shown to be racist, they would then put in a dissent decree to where now that specific police department has to reform the way that they do policing in that particular community, their practices, the way that they trained, rewriting certain bylaws within their own police department, just this stuff like that. And you would have the Department of Justice basically watch over your department while you go through, whether they put you on for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but they put you on for a certain amount of years in which you will be watching, making sure that you are actually reforming your police department and your department policies, and that once you actually reform these policies, that you're actually putting them into place and now enforcing these new policies. That has to also be approved since you are under consent decree by the Department of Justice.
And you're saying these oversight procedures or attempts at oversight been stripped altogether now?
It hasn't really been enforced as much now as it was under the Obama administration. It kind of has been kind of like swept under the rug in a sense. Some police departments are still following it, but they're not being watched as much as they was under the Obama administration as compared to now.
Okay, gotcha.
What happened to that whole, Ferguson and all the other ones with that thing you were just talking about? I don't know. I just think I seen an officer who was out of touch, who was there because he didn't foresee the young man as being a human being. I seen that. You could see it in his eyes. I seen white privilege. I seen a man that didn't care if that person lived or not. I seen a man that was trained in the same places you guys are trained at, that took his training as his weapon. He weaponized his training. I see it every day. But I also seen a group bystanders who had phones and cameras that could have done something as well. And they look like me, because I'm a combat veteran just like you are over here, Cam. I would have tried to step in, and I'm emotional because we watched a lynching in our time, and we stood by like our ancestors stood by many years ago out of fear, or I don't want somebody to kill me, or I don't want anybody to hurt me, so I'm going to go ahead and let him die. The person that recorded this in her phone or their phones are going to have to live with the death of that man for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And the man that killed him and the men who were responsible for his death are going to carry the same burden. Those burdens are going to be the same heaviness on all their hearts. For the ones who could have done something, I'm not saying get a bullet and blow police up, but you can be a distraction. You can I can catch a small, misdemeanor by, stepping in. I see it all the time with the other people. We just recorded. The last thing that man seen was bystanders who look just like him recording his death. How awful is that? That's the awful thing. We can do so much when we want to be nosy with Karen in the park, but when it's time for us, it's not, it's not my business. Shit, I'm not trying to get hurt. I'm not trying to go to jail. We don't do that. We drop the ball on each other all the time. We all had decisions, including that officer. My mind is not always to blame. I like to play both sides of the coin. He did not deserve to be lynched. He was not murdered. He was lynched. He was not murdered. Murder's a different type. This man was lynched before all of our eyes. And everybody who were there while this man was being lynched, they just stood by, just like most of our ancestors done when some of our uncles and aunts and people in our family were being lynched. Well, I'm just too damn afraid to step in. I just can't do anything. The way my mindset is, if you're going to lynch him, lynch me too. If you're going to lynch him, lynch all 5 of us together.
I think the recording, like people are using, like as a catalyst, was needed, honestly. So not saying that he needed to die or he deserved to die, but it was needed to spark that outrage across America and globally. I think it was needed to say and to let the world know that at this moment we have had enough. So I am, while I'm sad that he had, to lose his life for that, I think his name will forever be remembered as the name that sparked global civil rebellion. And I think it was needed for us. We needed to see that, like, as people, because for generations we had never seen people be lynched, as you put it. We needed to see it happen on video, live, or whatever you want to call it. So while
I think you both absolutely correct. And what I feel, to address what Ricardo said, I think what has happened is we've become so programmed in our American way of thought, and I'm going to say African American way of thought. And I always say this all the time. I think the white man's greatest invention was the African American, and I say that because we were stripped, reprogrammed, and we were programmed to think a certain way. Think about when our ancestors were on those plantations and they were getting whooped. You just watched and you bottled your feelings. And when my frustration when it comes to protest is everybody doesn't react the same way, but these are those bottled frustrations that are rightfully placed and rightfully acknowledged by those who look like us. So when people act out and when they protest, whether it's peaceful or whether they're screaming or whether they're tearing shit up, I think I'm not going to tell anyone that they're wrong for whatever way they feel or however way they choose to handle it. I think we all have a role to play. So if you write, then write out your feelings. If you sing your feelings. If you want to yell your feelings. If you want to peacefully protest, go out there and stand and peacefully protest. If you want to set some shit on fire, then set it on fire. Because it's not you who got us to this point. It's what they've done to us. Mm-hmm. And the frustration is necessary. And it does have a point, because now we have this conversation going. What needs to happen is, what do we do next? Now that we've gotten this attention, what do we do next? And I think we are so caught up on how everybody is expressing their aggression that we forget the focal point. We become divisive and divided about, well, I don't think you should do this and I don't think you should do that. It's not about what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's about your feeling. What do you feel? Because at the end of the day, we all literally feel the same way. So now we have to project the image to the country about, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, but just know that I'm mad as hell. Now, what are you going to do to make me feel better? And then we have to create, and this is going into another conversation, Michael, we have to create these consequences of, if you keep doing this to us, then this is what will happen. We'll tear this bitch down.
Well, I'm telling you, they're going to keep doing it to us.
I'm telling
you, they're going to continue to do it to us.
They're going to keep tearing it down. And there's no way around it.
That's what I'm saying. So we should be able to say, we're not rioting anymore, we're rebellion. That's what rebellion is. We're not no longer going to riot and have conversations.
Or watch. There's no more talk. There's no more talk to be done.
No more talk.
You hit it on the head. We are no longer rioting. This is not a riot.
This is a rebellion.
against the machine. And when you
Absolutely.
rebel, you cause chaos. That's why I don't get the people who are saying, I don't understand the violence, whatever. What do you think no justice, no peace means?
Exactly.
With rebellion comes change.
If you don't give us justice, we ain't going to give y'all ass no peace. That's literally what it means. And nobody is wrong. And I keep saying that nobody is wrong in how they feel or how they're reacting. That's not the point of it all.
The only people I feel who are wrong are the same people who want to go to the Martin Luther King table and talk it and walk it out. We have moved past that. We are always over that. Those people, to me, they're wrong. I don't want to talk with them. We shall overcome. I don't want to be kumbaya, my Lord, on Sunday morning and then have to go to work, because those tactics have not worked. They have never worked for us. They pushed it, they swept things under the rug. But we're at the point right now is that we have to understand as Blacks living in this country, because I'm not African American, this country belongs to me as well. We have to understand that we built this place belongs to us. And if we feel like you're not doing right by us, it's okay for me to go over there and tear that whole building down. Hell, I built it. It's mine too. Like, it's just like yours. And that is what this generation is saying right now. When you turn on your tubes and you're looking at all these young kids, these kids don't have a motor like me. I'm 41. My motor don't move fast like that. I talked with my son this afternoon. He's 23 years old, my biological kid. The way he sees this world is completely different. He doesn't fear whites. He doesn't fear pain. He doesn't feel sorrow. He doesn't feel the same way. It doesn't bother him to burn a building up with people in it. You got to talk to these people. Their minds are so different. And if you're wondering, like, why can't we get to them? Because they're built different. They're the Malcolm X generation that we should have had 60, 70 years ago. Because we wouldn't be in this place right now in 2020, still watching white men lynch people on in 2020, people are still being lynched. How crazy is that? So that's the people I'm angry with.
What we did was we catered to the MLK standard, which I appreciate everything that he tried to do, but even he realized he was wrong in the end, though. And so where we went wrong is we made these white people the standard. We want to fight for a seat in their community, to live in their house, to make us feel better about ourselves.
Exactly.
Instead of we went against what Marcus Garvey preached. Build your own military. Build your own ships. If you want to go back to Africa, let's take our black ass back there. But we exiled him. We fought against Malcolm X and the Black Panther Party. We let this is so deep that we think about what I'm about to say. We let the government tell us that the Black Panther Party were communists and against the American culture, and they deemed them a hate group. Yet the Ku Klux Klan has never been deemed a hate group.
Well, we allowed it. What did we do to stop it? We can pout like kids in the park, or we can put up. What are we supposed to do?
We right now are putting up that fight. I'm that generation where we are rebelling against all of that. So I could attest to that. Where I don't mind burning the building. I don't mind, losing my life to make sure that other people after me would see that change. I don't mind that at all. And I think that making people uncomfortable and making them see exactly what I want them to see and to how to bring that change the way that we should, then burn it up. I didn't tear it down. It's not the first time and it won't be the last. And each and every time change doesn't happen. If we thought it would happen when we elected the first Black president, it didn't happen. In fact, we were met with a bunch of resistance. It didn't happen, 8 years later after that. Well, 4 years, 8 years, 12 years even after that. So at this point, I think it is time to just put our money where our mouth is, and even quote Kanye West, he said, well, why were people just standing around? I think people now are just not even just standing around taking it anymore. So take it to the streets.
Let me ask you guys this, because something came over CNN not too long ago. It says a serious divide has emerged among Donald Trump's top allies and advisors over how he should address several of the protests. Several of the protests and riots across the nation. Trump is being urged to formally address the nation and call for calm, while others have said he should condemn the rioting and looting more forcefully or risk losing middle-of-the-road voters in November. How do you guys feel about that?
Trump should just shut the hell up.
Exactly. He's already lost, baby.
I feel like he should. I think he should listen to his top advisors and
Which
do the
one?
best thing for our country.
Well, which ones? Because right now they're divided.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he should listen to his top advisors and do what's best for our country.
He has
I understand the hate for him.
What do you mean?
So I kind of feel like if he addresses the country saying what happened in these current times are wrong, this is what we need to hear. If he doesn't say anything, he's damned. If he says anything, he's damned. We can't get those type of people.
He's stupid.
Okay, Czezre, go ahead. You haven't spoken in a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, again, Trump to shut the hell up. I said that the first time I said it again. Shut the hell up. He's one of the reasons.
He is the reason
that reignited, because I am going to say the Obama administration ignited this white racism and rebellions again, not because of any policies that he put into place, because of the fact that we elected a black man into office twice. So by us doing that as black people, it already started that fuel to the fire that these white people have been waiting for. The racist white people have been waiting for. Secondly, Trump put it over the edge since he first announced that he was running for president, and continuously put out this hateful rhetoric time after time after time after time after time, nonstop. Trump cares about nobody but himself. He doesn't care about
what hateful. I want to hear the hateful rhetoric. If you could just quote me one thing that was hateful, I want to hear it.
When Kaepernick was kneeling at the football game, he called the people that were kneeling, specifically black people, sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches, thugs, calling all Mexicans rapists.
Exactly.
Telling police officers that when they lock somebody up, that you give them a little nudge and a little bump. That is igniting, and that's igniting racism.
I think he was talking about illegals, giving them a little nudge. I posted the video.
It's even, and I'm in law enforcement. Even though he was talking about what is that MS 13? I think I read what the group is called.
MS 13.
Even though he was talking about that group, you still do not tell police officers who have a history of violating people's rights or overdoing the necessary force that's supposed to be, that's the standard, to basically go more. You don't do that. Why as a police officer, if I have you in handcuffs and you're no threat to me, why do I have to go any further in causing any type of damage to you? Period. It's the same thing that's happening in Minneapolis right now. As a police officer, if I have you in handcuffs, not saying one cuff was on you and your arm is still free, but if I have you in handcuffs, you are secure to where you can cause no more damage to me at all. Especially if I have 4 of my comrades around me, what more do I have to do? To what point am I proving of continuously placing my knee on your neck, or giving you an extra nudge in your face while I'm putting you in the car, or going 45, 50 miles an hour and slamming on the brakes? So you're like, what am I proving by doing that? I'm not proving anything at all. I'm not getting nothing out of it but looking like an asshole. So him coming up, and like I tell people all the time, by any means necessary, I am here for that. I don't agree with burning down your own cities. I've never been a proponent of that, even though I have followed the studies of Malcolm X. I've just never been a proponent of burning down your own shit. That's just me. But I'm not saying I want people to go burn things down. I understand why it is being done. It's a difference of me not agreeing with that philosophy and then saying me saying, oh, I'm going to condemn people for doing that. If people want to do that, I get why they're doing that. Torch the motherfucker down. Hey, it is what it is. That's just not my method.
I'm also fact checking everybody, and what I do want to say is that is rhetoric also. Most of the places being burnt down are not black neighborhoods in black cities right now.
Oh, I didn't say that. If they want to do that, by all means, I don't give a fuck. Will you torch it down?
We just had Rodeo Drive hit here in Los Angeles. We've had the Grove hit here in LA. So they're not discriminating on places they're looting and breaking down. And the real picture is most of these people who are in these streets are whites. They're not black.
I see a lot. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
They're not white. They're not black at all. So the rebellion is not only coming there are, and I never want to paint a picture where all whites are bad, because they're not. There are white people in this country who are sick of seeing black people being treated wrong.
But they're all
They're
privileged.
sick of it.
So let's acknowledge that they're all privileged.
But you know what? But you can't.
We
You
all
can't.
have a privilege, though.
But you can't dog somebody because they were born into privilege either. Because if I had white privilege, trust me, I wouldn't give a darn if anybody. If you're mad about my privilege, that's not my business. That's your business. We can't blame them from being into a society that they were born into. Some people can't help what they were born into. They try to change it.
I'm continuing perpetuating that, though. I can do that.
Say again?
I think both of you are right, and I think that needs to be a part of the conversation. Is I'm not blaming you because of your privilege, but what I am asking you to do is recognize it, and then somehow come to terms and do some soul searching with trying to acknowledge your own privilege and interact with others in a way that checks it. Gut check yourself and the people who look like you. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is, especially my Caucasian counterparts, is any time that we start to discuss race, they feel like somebody is calling them a racist. So the conversation get cut short and nobody wants to talk about it and nothing is done again. And I think that's a part of the problem too, why we can't fix anything, because nobody ever wants to have the conversation.
But we don't need to involve them in the conversation. Mind you, everything is for white privilege.
I think we can't change it unless they're involved in the conversation and then actively.
At this point, video recorded, and I'm not having a conversation with nobody about the privilege. You know what your privilege is. You see it every day. Amy knew exactly what her privilege was, which is why she premeditated and said, I'm going to tell them that you, as an African-American man, are threatening my life. She knew exactly what she was doing, and they knew exactly what privilege we're talking about. I'm not talking to nobody about what your skin color can get you because you learned about it in history, and I'm not talking about in comparison to mine. So there is no conversation to be had. You either change it or you don't.
Or what we should do is create our own black privilege. We should create our own. There are always lanes to we can be in. We have one lane going one way and a lane going the other way. We don't have to compare our lanes to their lane. We can create our own privilege. Everybody wants it.
I'm talking at one time, so Cameron, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's exactly the answer. Create our own black privilege. But hell, to me, what we need now is Black power. We need the Black Panther Party right now, because what it does is give you a strong sense of pride. It makes you acknowledges your self-worth and know that as a community, I don't need nobody else, but I can work on this house, this home, and make this my home again and assert my privilege in this. And as we see, we are the most talented people in the world top athletes. Everything that the inventions, like, we are in control of that. So imagine if we could stop being like BET, and I'm gonna call them out, because what we do is we'll get to the top tier of where we need to be professionally and with power, and then guess what we do with it?
Sell it off. Sell it off.
And I'm like, now what sense does that make? You create your own lane, like, and I'm using BET as an example. You created your whole lane with your own entertainment value and your own standard for Black entertainment. Then once you get to a certain place, you sell it to a white man to let them control our entertainment value. These are the things.
I can say the same. I can say the same thing about the historic D9. It was created for African American, both men and women, and to this day now we want to be so inclusive that we start to include other races, such as white people. So about creating our own, we've tried that, and then we let them infiltrate that. So I think it's not about creating our own. It's about, at this point, setting the standard across the board. And I'm not creating another lane for me. I am making this my lane.
But then that would be a great idea, to make your lane your lane. And I don't know. I just believe that we can operate in the same world, same country. Native Americans have been doing it. They have their own lane, and nobody's screwing with them. I believe that that's what we should be fighting for. We should be fighting for the South. It's our land in this country.
Do you all think integration was a mistake?
Absolutely, integration was a mistake.
Do you think integration
was a mistake?
It was a mistake. It completely destroyed us. It made us just like them.
I don't think integration was a mistake. I think
perspective.
I think we integrated and we forgot to keep educating our people of our history. I think that's where the problem came. It was like we were suddenly satisfied that we were allowed in the same room and we were allowed the same monies and access that the same or we thought we did, allowed the same access that our white counterparts were getting, when in all actuality they were just whitewashing and dumbing down a lot of things within our educational system that we didn't even realize was even happening. And now that we're realizing it, we're just so far behind that we're trying to catch up. I also wanted to piggyback about the whole Malcolm X and like Martin Luther King narrative. I think as Black people, we have to stop this. If you're not for Malcolm, and I heard it yesterday when I was outside for 10.5 hours with this Newark demonstration. I did another 3 hours in Franklin Township. I'm doing something else tomorrow. It's just always you hear this constant narrative of Malcolm versus Martin. And at the end of the day, they both wanted the same thing. It's just their approach is different. I'm not going to say to somebody, oh, because you're not a type of person who wants to peacefully protest without burning things, that I can't fuck with you, or because you are the person who wants to burn down things, I can't mess with you. No, it's just that everybody has their different approaches on how they want to do things. So it's one of the reasons why I said that just because I'm a person who don't agree with torturing things, I understand why it's happening. I've been the kind of person, I don't chain myself to buildings. I don't went arm in arm and blocked off highways, marched on bridges and everything. I did all that as of yesterday. But again, just because somebody's approach is different than mine, I'm not going to down them for that. But I'm going to fast forward to the integration part. I don't think integration was a bad thing. I think our messaging and the way that we're supposed to continuously educate our young Black people is where we went wrong. I think we got too comfortable, and that's where the discord went. On top of the fact that I can make it a whole political thing where I can call Black people sellouts, especially the Congressional Coon Caucus. I don't even call them the Black Caucus. I call them the Congressional Coon Caucus, and all them Black elected officials that are still here who try to pretend, even Bernie Sanders, when Black people want to call him the Black revolutionary, well, all these fucking elected officials want to all of a sudden act like they were so against the crime bill of 1994, where every last one of them Black bastards, including Bernie Sanders' white ass, voted for it, was petitioning for it, was pleading for it, and ran multiple campaigns on that exact same bill. So it's just, excuse me, so much stuff that we can compact onto what went wrong that we just ain't got enough time to do it.
I want to make a comment because you mentioned about all those people are part of that, because one thing that we have to realize is that a lot of these people who are in these positions of power politically, they were in those same positions during the civil rights movement and things like that. And what I have come to find out is a lot of them do sell out in the notion that they take these backdoor deals to maintain power. So they do things that actually goes to the detriment of us as a people. I always use Clarence Thomas as the prime example of a Negro in one of the highest positions of power, who never used it to do any good for the people who look like him. And he don't give a fuck that he hasn't. I honestly feel like things may not change until they ass get ready to die off. And because we think differently, and I think that's what we need. We need another level of thought when it comes to how we run this country and how we conduct our business. But I don't feel like that's going to happen until that older crowd who is used to the segregated mindset and the slave mentality die off. What do you all feel about that?
But I just kind of feel like this is the same conversation they probably had 100 years ago. Everybody else has progressed, but we haven't. We have the same amount of Blacks in the community that are willing to burn this bitch down. And then we have the same degree of blacks today that would like rather go to church on Sundays. We have to change that narrative. We have to get on one page. We have to be able to sit in one room and say amongst blacks, it is okay that we got Tommy over there wanting to burn this whole country down. It's okay that Sabrina want to go to church on Sunday. But what happens with us, as soon as we hear the opposite of what we want to hear, we shut down, conversation's over. Now we're fighting against each other. Don't allow him to come back into the conversation again. Oh, fuck Trump, excuse my language. I love Biden. Now we can't talk. We shut down. We're the only people that do that, that I've observed. We can't do that anymore. We have to learn to be able to stay in the space and do that.
Now you mentioned something that I want to talk to you about personally, because you mentioned and we have a Bernie bro with us, a Trump supporter, a Bernie bro, and we get so
huh? Who the Bernie bro?
You a Bernie bro.
You like to burn buildings down.
I must also for Kamala Harris.
We get clouded.
Okay,
I support Biden or I support Bernie Sanders. And my thing is, if you all notice, one thing that I harp on is like, why are y'all being a troll for these people? When really we can all acknowledge the fact that none of them are for the forward progression of us really, or doing truly anything for us. So I never understood the notion of why do y'all troll for these people, knowing that, okay, neither one of them really is helping us. So we need to really focus on a black agenda, even though we know neither one of these parties are good for us. Like, why do you go so hard for Trump? Why do you go so hard for Bernie?
So let me be clear. I don't go so hard for Bernie. I think it's just all about keeping him accountable. I think when he was the vice president, he was pretty much in like the shadows. So we didn't have a lot to hear or say about him. It's especially when Barack Obama was elected. I think I was a sophomore in high school, so I wasn't, that, I guess, educated on what he was doing or his past and things like that. But now that I'm older and I can make those decisions for myself, I think I just like to question why he do things and his policies and how he has acted as a public servant. So I don't go hard for Bernie. I like some of the ideas that Bernie put forth, just like I like some of the ideas that I would like to not say.
No, there are some things. Come on now, we keep it 100 on this show. There are some things, Darnell and I talked about. There were some things that, people gravitated more towards Trump, and we had an honest conversation. No, I would never vote for him or whatever, but I understood when he was voting, when he was running for office or campaigning or whatever, I understood why people gravitated toward him, because there's a lot of people in our community, in our society, that just really don't like that whole political rhetoric. They don't like that being politically correct and all of that sort of thing. So they found someone, they latched onto someone who, okay, we know that he went bankrupt, whatever, but we know that he's a businessman. He's got this, so he has some type of inside, workings or whatever. He is going against the grain. He's not afraid to speak up and to open his mouth and this, that, and the other. So they were latched onto him because it was like, yes, finally, I don't even know what the word is, but finally I know someone, or I feel like there's an attraction there. I get him, not really understanding that he had his own personal agenda once he got into office. You see what I'm saying? But was essentially, initially that was their attraction, but then now I think some people have realized it's not right. What it was, but I think that's what it was initially.
I think people latch onto Trump is signals that America is ready to move forward and is to be as progressive as we say we are. I think because we were wanting, not we, they were wanting something so completely different that that for me signifies that we are ready to be with a progressive candidate or a woman candidate or somebody else that's not white or black. So I think we are ready to move forward and to elect our first woman or Latino or African American woman president.
Well, I think first thing, what I believe, for somebody who graduated with a political science major and been in politics, I have family members who've been elected officials in the state of New Jersey and everything. I think with Trump Trump already came in the political realm with a so-called stardom, because he had that dumbass, what was that show called? Apprentice. So he had that show. On top of the fact that people connected to him because they felt like it was somebody who finally spoke like us.
Right.
To where he wasn't as censored or held back as much as your typical politician. On top of the fact that he gave an extra battery to what they would want to consider, like we used to always consider ourselves that silent majority on that side of things, as far as the Republican, not all, but most Republicans, especially in the South, who held back, who didn't vote, who did the same thing like we did in 2016, he kind of brought that back out of them again and gave them the extra battery pack to say, you know what, my vote matters. I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Kind of like the same thing that Black people did with Obama in 2007 when I voted for him as a freshman in college. So I kind of think that's kind of where that thing is kind of going. But I also want to talk about, because you said we got Bernie Bros and we got Trump support as well. I think because we spoke about the whole Black agenda thing, and I think a lot of times what happens is, I think as people, we, instead of kind of doing like our own research, I think we kind of sometimes gravitate more, leaning more so on what the media is spewing to us instead of really doing our own research. And another thing that I wound up finding out is when it comes to Black candidates, especially Black women, we hold them at such a standard that is kind of unmatched. It can't be reached. Kind of the same thing that people did with Obama. And I told people then, you're making a mistake thinking that Obama is going to be our Black savior, because you're basically asking this man to break down a system that has been around for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he didn't do, even though he did a lot of progressive things, but when he didn't do what Black people were putting him on this pedestal to do, he became a disappointment to them without them understanding what it is that he was trying to break, and understanding the actual political process in which we wanted him to break, but he couldn't break because he just didn't have certain things on his side. People have to understand, Obama is still, at the end of the day, was a Black man. So just because he had that D next to his name, he was already fighting the Republican Party. That's one. They didn't get around that. But he's fighting within his own party, because you have to think, before he ran for president, he just got elected as a senator. He just got elected as a junior senator. So to them, the establishment, even within his own party, who has the money behind it all, are saying, who the hell is this Black man and where did he came from? Because Hillary wasn't supposed to wait till 2016. Her run was 2007. And this Black man took her shine, not once, but twice. So we have to kind of understand this whole, where all this stuff is coming from and fueling from. Not to mention, white people, even Bernie Sanders, have been stealing Black ideas forever. That Medicare for all did not come from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, I tell people all the time, y'all keep calling Bernie Sanders this Black savior. Y'all need to ask him why the percentage of the African American population is 1%, but the incarceration rate is over 10%. Y'all need to tell,
in New Hampshire, where he resides.
In Vermont. Y'all need to tell me why the only thing that he did was pass a damn. Why the only thing that he did was get a damn post office renamed. He hasn't introduced now one legislation that catered to Black people. He never put on the books that he wanted to repeal the crime bill of 1994. He never did put anything on the table for African American women. He never said anything about the way African American women are underpaid. Black men are underpaid. The housing crisis in African American communities. I'm trying to figure out how the hell he became this Black savior. This is what frustrates me about Black people. Black people always want to downplay and hate white people so much, but they gravitate to them as their Black saviors so freaking quick. It bothered me so much that people kicked Kamala Harris's back in for doing something that she never put into place. It's not her fault that as a district attorney and an attorney general that she has to follow federal law. and while she was in office, that she tried to change some of the things that she, under the scope that an attorney general can do, change. But at the end of the day, federal law is federal law. It was like people were just saying the most asinine things about her. And I'm just like, do y'all dumbasses even know what you're talking about? Or you're just being upset because certain things are being put on social media. So as Black people, we're retweeting the dumb shit. And now we're trying to make this black woman look bad. Kamala Harris had the most progressive Black agenda out of all the candidates, especially that targeted Black women. But we kicked her freaking back in. White people that was running for president stole all her ideas, took her data, whether it was in South Carolina, Iowa, New Hampshire, California, stole her data, stole her voting registration basis. They took her ideas when she dropped out as far as her exact agenda. Everything came from Black people. It's just mind-boggling to me about we as Black people, we say one thing, but we do a completely different opposite thing that we're talking about. It's just like,
which is why this leads me to my next question. I'm sorry, Ricardo.
What?
It seems as if your post can sometimes not contradict you, but it seems like you're for the cause. I can tell that. But your posts seem to like troll sometimes. Why is that? I'm sure people want to know that. Like, why do you make the posts that you make about Trump? Because it's sometimes they're insensitive and they seem to go against what you actually believe in.
Well, because, I'm Black and I know how to talk to Black people. We only respond to troll things. If I go on and say, I'm having a really good day and my day is fine, you can't get a reaction out of that. If I say, I talked to Donald Trump today and he made me have a good day, I get a reaction because now you are talking to Donald Trump. I thought you hate Donald Trump. I hate Donald Trump. I don't want to. That's why I do it, to start a conversation, because most of us don't know why we hate Donald Trump. Like the young man said in the corner, white people told us to hate him. And we did exactly that. There's a table there that he's presented. He's the only non-politician in the White House right now. This man's not even a politician. He worked his way up.
He's also not even college educated either, so.
He's not a politician. He's a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever. But if you follow Donald Trump, because most of you guys are much younger, if you follow his road, yes, he has some bigoted ways. All of them do, including Biden and Hillary, and all of them do. But you have to be able to decipher between what ways are going to be able to push us forward and what ways are going to keep us behind. This white man, honestly, has done more in a little bit of time for the Black community than our precious Obama did.
Well,
and we do not like to hear that. But that's the truth.
What did he do?
I mean, he did fund the HBCUs, the historical Black colleges. He did fund more of that. He did come out a new, the new crime bill. He wrote that. He pardoned a lot of Black people on death who's been spending 20 or some odd years on drug charges. He's done these things. He could do more. Excuse me?
None of those things.
Did she put a slap on laptop down? What? Go ahead.
I mean, he could do
Trump either, because a lot of even the HBCU thing that comes from the Obama administration.
Okay, also, well, then we'll just give.
Hold on, let me comment.
Because you were breaking up, I can't hear you. That's why.
Okay. Also, with the crime reform bill, that's also another extension of the Obama era. All Trump administration did was streamline to make it go faster. It's not a new idea. He just made it streamlined and then said it's serious now. So that those things like that irritate me because, of course, I am into politics. I'm a poli-sci major. I know how to research and I do research. So
by you being a poli-sci major, you hating Donald Trump makes your major major. No, that's a question. That was a question for you because I always get it from you guys on my platform about my support for my president.
Is this. Number one, I feel like he's just morally corrupt.
Okay.
I don't vibe with people in real life who I don't get it, who I don't mesh with morals. I feel like he's a bigot. I do feel like he's a bigot. When Donald Trump got into office, one thing that I did, I was like, I'm gonna give this man a chance because everybody hates him so much. He'll probably get in there and be the best president that we ever had. I gave him that opportunity. He proved me wrong. There is nothing in MAGA that says I'm welcome to join. And that's from my perspective because of how he conducts himself, the statements that he continually make. Even last night, he made a statement that says MAGA loves the black people. That means black people are not a part of MAGA already. You're treated as a different entity who we get to enjoy. And so what makes me...
And black people are not a part of the Democratic Party either. What are you talking about?
We're
not a part of their party either.
I always call both parties sheep in wolf clothing. The only because people have to understand. Well, black people used to vote Republican anyway, but there were right. And I understand why older black people vote Republican. People who were born in the 50s and 40s and 30s, I understand why they voted Republican. I get that part. But people now, I don't understand that.
Karen, the dog walker, was a Democrat,
but she still has her white privilege. Just like I go around and tell people, white people and indifferent, I'm not going to praise no white person because they want to tell me they ain't racist. So what the hell, you want a round of applause for that because you ain't racist? I don't give a damn about that. That don't mean
like I
nothing
said,
to
the
me.
Democratic Party has failed us, and that's period.
I agree with that, but I agree with that. But at the end of the day, do we blame the Democratic Party only, or do we blame the black people who we put into office who were supposed to speak up for us on why things are the way they are as well? Because let's not forget, when Shirley Chisholm ran for president and she helped find the freaking Congressional Black Caucus, only 2 of the members endorsed her. The party came out as the Congressional Caucus as a whole came out and endorsed a whole nother person. The 94 crime bill only got pushed to the extent that it got pushed was because of the Congressional freaking Caucus and people like Al Sharpton through the media was pushing for it.
Maxine Waters. Come on,
I blame her ass. I blame her ass too.
Maxine,
I blame her ass too. But for you to sit up here and say that things got done within the black community because of Trump, that's not true. Obama.
I didn't say that, but I didn't say things got done. I said he created a table for us to sit at.
He didn't create a table for us to sit at because he invited those them bootlicking pastors to come to the table.
So now they're bootlickers.
Hell yeah, they bootlickers. Hell yeah, they bootlickers.
Okay, so pastors are bootlickers.
Those bootlicking pastors.
And we all know what I mean. Call you to come sit at the table, you're not gonna come sit.
It's a difference of being invited to the White House.
Okay.
And being a bootlicker and saying if I'm coming to that White House and saying let's have some real talk. You ain't doing for my people. The rhetoric that you spew is some bullshit. And that's just called it what it is. If Obama had the Senate and the Congress behind him, we could have got things pushed through. But you can't tell me that out of 8 years, he only had control for 2, and we're expecting him to get things done.
Right. Obama said,
we're just gonna continue to make excuses. That's all.
I'm not making excuses. That's the political
excuses.
That's not
every downfall Obama presented. You guys making excuses.
Obama couldn't even get judges passed because it was being turned down by the Senate, or wasn't.
He could have used his executive order.
You cannot use executive order and power to put judges on the bench.
You can't use executive powers to write laws for blacks while we were being sold out on his watch.
And you know what Trump did when he got into office? He overrode every last single one of those policies that Obama put into executive order.
Every president does that, though.
Things that if Obama did go look it up. Every executive order that Obama has put into place has been reversed by the Trump administration.
Every executive order that Bush put into order, Obama.
That's not true.
The same thing.
That's false. That is not true. That is false. So I'm going to need you to do the research. That is false. He has not overturned every single policy that Bush has put into office executively. And Bush did not have, and to be quite honest, Obama has did more executive power things under his administration than Bush did. So that's a fact.
Well, what
and
benefit us?
Jeremy, aka Darnell.
My city just got put on a curfew tonight, so which begins in like I guess 20 minutes, and I need to go to the grocery store so I can get groceries.
Go ahead. Thank you. We appreciate
for this wonderful talk. But yeah, I need to go and handle that.
Don't burn any buildings.
He out of here. I want to read. I want to read some things really quickly because I don't think you guys. I just want to read over them and then Cam, you go. So.
Micah, did you freeze?
Did he
The
freeze?
moderator just freeze?
We all looking, huh?
He could have frozen. So let me ask the question while he's getting it together. Let me ask this question. At the end of the day, do either of you think the Trump, I might as well call it the Trump party, the Republican Party or the Democratic Party is doing everything or to really progress us?
No.
I've said that. No.
No.
So we're in agreement. It's a no.
It's
so with
no.
that being said, I don't think, and I think we do a disservice to each other and our audience when we have these debates and we post things criticizing other blacks for or promoting either one of those parties. I think what we need to do is get on the same page as promoting something for us, period, instead of arguing about you right for being with the Democrats or you wrong for being with the Republicans. I think that's where we go wrong, because at that point it becomes a game of we just promoting rhetoric. We're promoting theology that can either be disproven or not. Like, to me, there's something that we have to do now more than just arguing about these trivial things when we are all in agreement that none of them really help us to begin with.
I want all blacks to abandon the Democratic Party. That's my stand. That's what I post on my platform. I don't believe blacks have a place at the Democratic table. A Democrats table, they have done nothing but shown how racist they are. They couldn't care less about our families. They have shown themselves to be nothing more than white people hiding behind their hand. They never ever do what they say they do for us. They haven't done anything for us.
Republicans have?
Well, we have never given them a chance. So let's try something different. That's what I mean. Like,
go ahead.
I want to. Stefan says, if you're asking me to sit at a table with a microscope on what I'm allowed to do, then you are not really inviting me to the table. If I'm not invited under the same fairness and pretenses of all the others there, then you are not asking me to come to the table. You are just placing a face of false diversity.
Exactly.
Period.
That's
okay, so what table doesn't have a false diversity? I mean, Obama created tables. Bush created tables.
We can't make
president has.
To what he's saying, because what he's saying is true.
It is.
You're going back into argument though, and what I'm keep saying is, why do you keep arguing? Like, if we acknowledge that none of them have given us a seat at the table, arguing, well, the Democrats did this and the Trump didn't do this, it defeats the purpose of the discussion to begin with. Like, to keep arguing those mute points is ridiculous. Like, so
let's start our own party.
Do away with both parties. If you want the blacks to lead the Democratic, how would we just do away with both parties altogether?
And I'm
fine with that.
Because when I preach,
I'm independent.
my sermon is about abandoning party politics at this point. We don't need, because party politics is nothing but a machine that's not ran by any of us, and that's the truth.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with abandoning all parties. I'm okay with even creating our own party. I'm okay with that.
So
I really do.
What I want, we'll spend just a few more minutes on this, and I want, let everybody go. I think we've had a wonderful conversation, and again, I'm going to. I don't think the world is ready. Well, I'm going to say my Facebook is probably not going to be ready for what I'm going to say after I end this live and do a video. But I'll save that for later for everyone to listen and all of that. But I feel like the conversation is great, healthy dialogue, all of that. But the things that I want to ask, Czezre, would be like in regards to law enforcement. What do you feel like at this point the law enforcement can do to change what has been happening? I think it needs to be a consistent, cohesive national thing, not just, oh, we have good officers in Newark, New Jersey, and good officers in, whatever other town, but it's not consistent. So how do we all get on, or how does law enforcement all get on one accord moving forward from what has been happening?
You want my honest opinion?
Yes.
Okay. Law enforcement as a whole, I'm not speaking of individuals, I'm not speaking of individual departments, I'm speaking as a whole, does not want to change, and they love the fact that they're put on this pedestal of law enforcement privilege. The only way that we can get things to change, and I know it's kind of some of the things that we constantly say over and over again, is that we have to be active. We have to get actually good cops do speak out. But we have to start electing these district attorneys. We have to start electing getting prosecutors put into place, these judges put into place. We have to be going to these community meetings where they're formulating policies such as the one that was in Minneapolis, and nobody had no clue about it because we're not involved. So the only way to get that done is to just honestly, and I've learned this over my 30 plus years, is I had to keep myself involved and active. Even when things didn't go right the first time for me, I kept going and going, because that's something my grandparents and my ancestors taught us, that just because something didn't go your way the first time, or even the second time, or the third time, as if you keep kicking down punching at that door, eventually you're going to get through. You're going to get through. So I want people to get there, because it's more than just us. And that's one of the reasons why I got involved in law enforcement, because I was the person, even though I still do it now, who was constantly in the streets, on the bullhorns, at council meetings, constantly talking about, oh my God, the injustices of police departments and the criminal justice system is just wrong. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Oh, I can't stand it. But I never put myself in a position to create change, besides being that person who just constantly yelled all the time. So I put myself in a position where I can possibly and hopefully in the future create change. But as Black people, we have to understand that we can't alienate ourselves from each other, because I could be honest with you right now. Within the criminal justice system, Black people are like this. They're like this across the board, period. They're like this, while everybody else is like this. Mm-hmm. So and I know we keep saying this now over and over again, until Black people really, 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 really say to themselves that they are really tired and they're really ready to come like this, and not just like this, where it's just we're still separated, but you just have these very few, or we're like this, is really not going to change. It's not.
And I'm going to say it's something I know Cameron or Antonio and I talked about it, is that the fact that my mother, I don't know why she's texting me now, but she has gone to county council meetings, for like 25, 30 years. She worked for the county. Most of my family works for the county. And I challenge and charge everyone that's out there, protesting and rebelling and all that kind of stuff. You got to get involved in what's going on at these companies, because a lot of the things you're not necessarily privy to. You don't hear about it until after the fact, or when it's about to happen, right? This change is about to happen. If you get in that room, in that space where they're trying to get these things passed and bring these things into the community, you can then have a voice. You know what I'm saying? So when people say go vote, go vote, they're not just telling you guys to go vote for the next president of the United States. You need to also vote for your city councilmen, your county councilmen, your congressmen, and all of that kind of stuff, right? And you need to be, and like Czezre said, you need to be involved, and I can say, with my platform, that's just a percentage of me trying to be involved, but I'm kind of mad at Czezre for not inviting me to the protest on yesterday. I found out in the grocery store, I'm like, what? I want to go. And then I told my grandmother, she was like, no, I don't want you to get hurt. No, but we got to get involved. We got to push it. You know what I'm saying? So anybody that's out there that's not registered to vote, I want you to get registered to vote for those things. You can think about gentrification. We've seen that in Atlanta and other areas for so long, and now they're moving people out of the community, not because they can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So you guys got to get, and then also find out, don't wait till the last minute to find out where your polling place is, right? You know, you go to one and then you find out, oh shit, I'm at the wrong one, and that's a hold up. Make sure you have the proper identification when you're showing up. Make sure that you are registered. You know, you may have forgotten, go check it on. There's many places that you can check to make sure that you're registered. So those is kind of some of the things I just want to make sure that, you know, that's how we can get involved, aside from the protests, aside from, you know, the rebellion and all of that, because I get it, and I'm not, you know, judging anyone for doing that, but you also have a voice. I don't care what people say you don't. Like Czezre said, try again, and eventually it'll happen. Cameron, Ricardo, anything you want to say?
I just want to close out by saying thank you all for the discussion. And I want everybody to just take this away from this. Be mindful of what you put out there into the universe. Be responsible with your platforms. Don't promote rhetoric. Promote a real change with real solutions. I want everybody to remember that we may have different ways of doing things, but at the end of the day, we all feel the same. We all have the same outrage. Let's stop criticizing our brothers and sisters for how they choose to express ours, and instead just do what we do, or however we feel we need to do it to express our own. Less criticism, more support, more love. Be responsible with your platforms. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Ricardo, I'm coming to you.
Oh, I don't have much. I'll leave you with this. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And that's it.
Okay. Hold the line for me. Don't go anywhere. All right. Go ahead, Czezre. Final word.
I really don't have much to say. I'm really exhausted. I've just been like out here for like ever.
Out in the streets, baby. We appreciate for that.
Huh?
I said we appreciate and thank you just for doing that, you know?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you all for loving me the same way that I love you guys, and always supporting me in everything and anything that I do. Just know that our skin is not a sin. Black is beautiful. And at the end of the day, walk with your heads held up high, and know that you are queens and kings out there.
So I want to thank you for that. So I'm going to bring you guys back on really quick. I want to share. This is my final. Cameron's going to do the final word, but it's not what he just said. It's a video that I'm going to play. He was at a protest, and I think it was profound. But I want to put this up here first from a statement from Nelson Mandela. So let me share the screen, and let me go to it really quickly. It says, if you can see it, it says, when a man is denied the right to live the life he believes in, he has no choice but to become an outlaw. Again, when a man is denied the right to live the life that he believes in, he has no choice but to become an outlaw. And then I want to go ahead and bring Cameron's on really quick, and then we'll just close out the show. So give me a second so I can bring that in. And Cameron, look, Cameron got scared. He left before before we can play him, but let's go ahead and play Cameron. Okay, let's go ahead and play Cameron, and we'll close out. Hold on 1 second, and here we go.
Not enough people understand this experience because they're not us. And then because you don't understand it, you don't take it serious. And you sympathize with everybody except for the people who look like me. And a dog. When I go to the courtroom, I see nothing but people who look like me. I see the judges giving everybody the benefit of a doubt except for people who look like me.
Amen.
Every criminal is not a bad person. And every black person is not here to bring you fear. When you think about the travesties of the world, when you think about the crimes against humanity, those people don't look like me. But why am I the one you fear?
Wow, those people don't look like me, but why am I the one you fear? Thank you so very much to my panel. Thank you guys for sharing, liking, commenting, and